The Hero's Journey, a Mindful Accord podcast, with your host, Rich Decker.
Hello, and thank you for taking some of your valuable time to listen to the show. I'm excited to announce that the Hero's Journey, a Mindful Accord podcast, has begun its own Patreon page. For those who are not familiar with Patreon, it's a platform that allows artists and content creators to build relationships with their audience and provide exclusive experiences while earning enough money to keep providing the content on an ongoing basis. When you join our community, you will gain access to exclusive content, as well as other benefits and goodies. There will be a link in the show notes that'll take you directly to our page. I would like to take a moment to thank our first patrons from Patreon. They are Melissa Ann Michael, Lisa Gaucho, June Gaucho, Taylor and Eric from Financial Potion, and Greg Berdulis. Thank you for being the first to join our Patreon page and our community. Our guest for this episode is Robert Harrion. When someone tells you you have cancer, what's the first thoughts that go through your mind?
The very first thought, of course, is, why me? How? How could this happen to me? Then of course you start thinking, my God, if I die, my wife, my daughters, my family, my friends, I'm not ready to go. I don't want to die. And so in that very moment, I decided I'm not going to die. I don't care what it takes. I'm not going to die.
Robert is a survivor of a rare form of cancer. Robert had pockets of cancer cells spread throughout his abdominal cavity. He was given a less than 30% chance of survival, and he had a difficult time finding a doctor who would perform the surgery. Now, this surgery was needed if Robert was going to have any chance of survival. Now, the surgery was the equivalent of having 5 surgeries done at once. It was a 12-hour procedure. That alone would be a monumental obstacle to overcome and heal from, but there were complications. Robert had to have 2 more surgeries within 2 weeks. So he had 3 surgeries within 14 days. This is rare, and it put his chances of survival at less than 10%. But Robert's still here. He's here to share the wisdom he gained from his hero's journey. This is a 2-part interview. In part 1, we discuss Robert's background and where his journey began. We then discuss his surgeries and how deep the abyss got for him. It is a testament to the will to survive and overcome great odds. This is part 1 of the hero's journey of Robert Harrion. Enjoy. Well, thank you, Robert. Thank you for joining us today on the Hero's Journey, a Mindful Accord podcast. We've been trying to do this for a while.
Yes.
Right?
Over a year. Yes.
And here we are finally doing the podcast. Let's start at the beginning of your journey. Just cover your childhood. Where'd you grow up? What was your childhood like? And one thing I ask everybody is, what's a principle that your parents instilled in you, for better or worse, that you feel you still carry with you today?
Okay. My parents didn't teach me anything, so no, I'm kidding. But I was, childhood, just going back, my father was in the Navy for 21 years, so my childhood consisted of being a military brat, Navy brat, if you will, as we're called. Growing up mainly in European countries and some U.S. Station naval bases and Army bases and whatnot, wherever he went, that's where we went. It was every 2 to 4 years we would go somewhere. Spent a lot of time went to high school in Spain for 4 years. All 4 years of my high school was in Spain. We did the Azores Islands, Morocco. We were in Jacksonville, Florida, Fort Meade, Maryland, just Puerto Rico. So we were kind of all over.
Now, how many siblings do you have?
I have one brother, younger, 7 years younger than I, and a sister that's about a year older than me.
So you were just, all 3 of you and your mom and dad were just, every few years you were going somewhere different.
Yeah.
Now, was that, I know for some that's hard because you get your friends in school and all that.
Yes.
But how do you view that now? I mean, most of us don't have those level of experiences to see that different part of the world.
No, it was great. I mean, the beauty of it was, yes, we get to visit different parts of the world, experience different cultures and languages and whatnot, and cultures and whatnot. And so, but the other side of that is, yes, you do have to pick up and leave abruptly every 2 to 4 years. And for the most part, your childhood friends you never see again, you never hear again. You back then there was a term that we used, I'm sure you're familiar with, called pen pals.
Yes.
So when we would leave,
physically
wrote letters to each other and put
what is that?
And put a stamp on it.
I'd have a hard time finding a pen around here.
And now they just collect stamps. So we would do that, but that would last about a month. You'd write a couple of letters and that's it. But now that we have Facebook and things of that nature, social media, I've actually been able to reconnect with hundreds of my childhood friends from elementary in the Azores Islands and Morocco all the way up to high school in Spain and beyond. So it's really kind of cool.
So all over the world.
Yeah.
You've made reconnections with people.
Yes.
That's the cool thing about Facebook, even with all the privacy and everything.
Right.
Those issues.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of downside to it, but the upside is the reconnections that are available there now.
Me and I had my 30-year high school reunion, not this summer, but the summer
30
before.
years.
30 years. I'm getting old.
Yeah. Aren't we all?
Yeah. By the day and by the minute, actually.
Yes.
By the moment. But there was a lot of people that I hadn't talked to in years, but then when we got on Facebook, we were able to reconnect again.
Reconnect, like no time has been lost.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's the great thing about Facebook. So you're traveling around, you're in this military family, and you're having these different experiences. What did you want to be when you were growing up, when you were going through that? We all kids want to be, an astronaut.
Right. Well, it's funny because when I was in high school, my junior year of high school in Spain, and my father was actually preparing to retire from the Navy. And we were actually supposed to leave Spain between my junior and senior year of high school. And I really wanted to graduate high school in Spain. I didn't want to go somewhere else just for my senior year. I played football, basketball, and track. I was kind of good for overseas, but I didn't want to go back to the States to go to a different high school and play sports and whatnot. Plus, I was a musician and had some things going there. I didn't leave. So he actually extended for a year so I could actually graduate in Spain. From there, I graduated and went to back to Mississippi where we're from and went to college there. So
what did you want to be, a musician?
And what I wanted to be was, the background, of course, was military, Navy. So I actually had gotten accepted to the Naval Academy.
That's big.
But in a long emotional discussion with my father about military service and the requirements and the demands of it, I decided not to. I decided just to go back to Mississippi and go to school. I went to Jackson State University and pursued business and music instead. So business marketing with music minor.
So you were a musician, but you wanted to play, or you wanted to be in the business side of the music industry?
No, in the beginning, it was going to be more so business. I wanted to be like a talent manager, agent, something. Not sure just wherever it led me to go. But then once I got to Jackson State and participated in the marching band, the Sonic Boom of the South, it just became just a phenomenal experience. And I didn't want to put that down. So I actually got pretty good on the saxophone, and a couple of years into that, we actually put a band together and started performing and gigging around Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana. And it started to be a lot of fun, and that actually became my career for quite a few years.
How would you describe the life of a musician? I heard a joke once. A friend of mine that was a professional musician said, I'm going to screw it up. I'll have to. What do you call a musician without a girlfriend?
I've never
Homeless.
Oh, hey, but trust me, that has so much truth.
So there's a lot of. I mean, you're not making a ton of money, right? As a traveling musician.
No, we were making enough to eat, drink, and gas money, know, and have fun with it. There we had some opportunities to where we shoulda, coulda, woulda, done some things. And possibly gotten a recording contract and all this, that, and the other. But, it didn't work out that way. And it's all good now. But, it was kind of frustrating back then. But, that life of a musician, there's so many things that I could tell you, but then there's so many things that I can't tell you either, that I just don't need to repeat. Did you really do that? Like, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
what genre did you play in?
It was R&B, funk,
okay,
mainly, and then depending on the gig, we would throw in some jazz or even some rock and roll from time to time. So whatever the money dictated, that's what we did. Sure.
And what kind of music did you like? What was your favorite kind of music?
My R&B funk was definitely my style, still is.
Well, who would you say were your influences?
Influences back then, Cameo, Prince, Mars Day and the Time. Those were my go-tos.
But it was very popular at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right around Purple Rain.
Yes. I went to the 1985 New Orleans Superdome Purple Rain concert.
Oh, you did?
The best concert ever.
Well, I saw him a few years ago when he did his big reunion thing.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a phenomenal, just a great musician and entertainer and overall, good guy, just...
He had it all.
He was really into it.
He even had the eccentricity and the weirdness and all that.
Exactly.
All, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So you were a musician. When did you decide to stop doing that?
Well, it's something because as you get to know me, you'll find out that I'm a spiritual person and I'm spirit led. And when I say spirit led, I'm not necessarily talking about led, per se by the Bible or different texts and of that nature. But I actually have been able to actually receive personal messages that are put onto my heart or put onto my spirit. And towards the latter part of my career as a musician, I woke up one day and was looking in the mirror after a long, hard night of gigging and drinking and all the stuff that you do in that lifestyle. And I looked in the mirror and something spoke to me and said, if you keep going the way you're going, living the lifestyle that you're living, you will be dead in a year.
It was that hardcore?
It was that
hard drugs or just the normal?
No, it wasn't necessarily that. It was just I wasn't hardly getting any sleep and I was just all in, just for the lifestyle of it. I did more drinking than anything. Yeah. And so when I received that, when that message was put on my heart, I kind of thought about it for a minute. I contemplated, like, I don't want to, this is fun. This is easy. This is cool. People love me out here. And so I didn't want to give that up. But then for a while, it was like, you know what? I could actually feel my body telling me, yes, hey, I can't do this much longer.
And this is after how many years of doing this?
This was actually like hard gigging, like, really hitting the road for like 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
So how do these guys do it year after year after year? They just don't have that lifestyle, you think? Or
well, some of them don't have the lifestyle, but you can also look at, some of these musicians and people in the industry, they don't have the best health. And that's the reason why. I mean, my doctors even, had concern that the amount of drinking of alcohol that I did affected my liver, which affected my immune system. And, my body was not able to fight off the cancer. in the beginning stages. I'm glad that I did walk away from it. And it was an abrupt, I just stopped. I just quit.
And what'd you do?
I love the entertainment capacity of it. So I actually started modeling and acting. I was in Jackson, Mississippi, and that wasn't the best market to do that. I did some things there, and then went to Memphis for a little while. I was actually on my way to Atlanta. I was supposed to be relocating to Atlanta, like within the next 2 weeks at that time, and I actually met who's now my wife. I met my wife at a wedding. Oh. No, yeah, she was in town in Mississippi for a wedding, and I met her, and I went to Phoenix to visit her instead, and never went back. In Arizona, I discovered the world of hospitality and resorts, and doing banquets and event service. So I did that, and I became a realtor. Sold real estate, and mainly as an investment consultant, and worked a lot with investors, and rode the wave of two up and down markets, in the Phoenix market until that big crash in 2006, 2007. And that was enough for me. That was the end. Yeah.
Now, going through this period, you were having children. You have three kids.
3 daughters.
Three kids,
yes.
3 daughters.
Yeah.
And what were your goals? Just to raise a happy family? And
yeah, I mean, yeah. Once we started having children, then that changed everything. I mean, it was really just about maintaining household and income and making sure that they had all that they needed. At the same time, keeping my wife happy, keeping a smile on her face.
Well, that's the hard part. Yes,
that was that's always been
the hard part.
Always been the challenge. even now, our children are pretty much grown, and as of 2 weeks ago, we're empty nesters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the other two that are still in college, they all moved in together in an apartment now. So we're actually empty nesters, and now here's another big adjustment that we're making.
After years, yeah.
And we, get to look at each other every morning and every night and talk to each other and not the girls. So, right. But, we're having fun with it. And we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary last December. And so we're doing something once a month, going on a little, getaway, go to Mexico, California, Sedona, wherever it may take us. We go somewhere once a month, for this whole year. And, we renewed our vows and everything. So we're on track to be good with and for one another.
So since I've known you for a few years now. Mm-hmm. You were always a person that was in great shape as far as what appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And you
appeared to be, yes.
Yeah, but you were exercising, and
yes.
Do you feel like you were eating properly?
I was eating the right things. Definitely. I stopped drinking alcohol completely. Yeah, I was exercising. I was working out. The job that I had at the resort that I was working at the time that the cancer was discovered, my job basically had to walk. It was a 40-acre property, so I was basically walking in excess of 10 miles per day just to handle the events. I was getting all the right things and doing all the right things. So I thought, and I started losing weight. Thought that was because of all the walking and exercising. And
I remember that.
Yeah. And so, people were asking me, Robert, you're losing a lot of weight kind of fast. Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Fine. Yeah. I'm just walking too much, and that's what I thought it was.
I remember you telling me you stopped eating bread.
Yeah.
That's what
I stopped eating. I did away with carbs and dairy and sugar. I was, like I said, I was trying to do all the right things to be as healthy as possible. And it's something because when I was finally diagnosed, one of the things that my surgeon that actually did the surgeries on me said was one of the main reasons that he agreed to do the surgery was because of I was so healthy and so strong otherwise. Because outside of the cancer that was in my body, blood, urine, heart, everything else was top-notch condition and super strong. And he's like, if you would have been 5 years older or in a frail state, he wouldn't have done it.
But you were having some stomach problems, yes?
Yes, for years, I was having stomach problems, bloating, pains, and whatnot. And
were you a person that regularly went for checkups, or were you like a lot of guys that don't?
I was one of those guys that never
Oh.
went for checkups.
Mm.
I just didn't. I mean, up until the time that I finally was convinced by my wife to go see a doctor, I don't even remember the last time that I had gone to a doctor. That's how long it had been.
Not getting blood work or anything.
Like nothing.
That. Right.
Nothing. I was healthy.
Right.
So I had no reason to go to the doctor.
But the stomach problems weren't enough to be a concern for
Here's
you?
the thing, the stomach problems and the pains and whatnot, I just chalked those up as I'm getting older. It's what happens when you get older. Because I used to hear my grandparents say, yeah, you eat hot sauce on everything, but wait till you get older, you're not going to be able to do all that. Like, yeah, whatever. And I thought, oh, well, maybe they were right. So I just chalked it up as getting older, and, you just start feeling pains and you start getting a beer gut. And, even though I wasn't drinking beer, I thought I was doing the right things.
So what made you finally go visit the doctor?
Well, it got to a point to where, again, I had lost so much weight. I mean, my normal weight was around 225 pounds. I'm 6'4". Normal weight is around 220, 225. And I looked up one day and I weighed 185 pounds, like within 6 months.
So that's significant.
Yeah, that's a lot of weight to lose without trying. And my stomach was still, what's the word, distended. It was like, a hardness throughout my whole abdomen. And then finally my wife said, honey, please, can we go see a doctor and see what's going on? So I finally said, okay, yeah. And the first doctor I went to was a Eastern medicine, Chinese doctor. Because I thought maybe I could go get some acupuncture or, some herbs or something and get rid of the stomach and, be okay. She examined me and felt around, my stomach area and, read my tongue as they do. And within 5 minutes, she said, I'll be right back. And she went and she came back and had my wife with her, who was waiting in the lobby. She sat us both down and said, you need to go see an internist, an internal medicine doctor, like today. She had this look in her eye like something was really wrong. We left there and went and found a doctor and internist that day. Yeah, we Googled on the way back towards the house. We lived in Chandler, and we Googled and came up with a name. This name just popped out for some reason. Like, yeah, I want to go see him. Royal Joje. I went and just went in and was asking about making an appointment, and they were asking me, of course, what it's for and whatnot. And I'm telling them. And then, she had me fill out the paperwork and whatnot. And then when I filled out the paperwork, she said, you know what? We just got an opening. Would you like to see the doctor now? Like, yeah, sure. So I did. And from there, he examined me and whatnot. And there was some concern. He wasn't quite sure what it was. So the first thing he did was prescribed a detox and like Metamucil type of a laxative, try to cleanse and see if it was just some blockage going on, causing this distended stomach and abdomen. From there, that worked a little bit, but there was obviously something else going on, and so we did the colonoscopy, endoscopy, and all these things, and couldn't find anything internally until we did the CAT scan and revealed that there was a large amount of fluid called ascites fluid that usually appears when there's malignant cells that is trying to protect your organs and separate your organs from the malignant cancerous cells. And but we still couldn't find cancer even in the fluid. So then finally we did a laparoscopy surgery and put cameras all through my abdomen, and that's when they, lo and behold, found the various several clusters of cells that had attached themselves to the outsides of my organs all throughout my abdomen. They did the biopsy and it came back negative or positive. That, yeah, you have cancer.
So how did you get it? I think I remember you telling me you thought maybe your appendix burst and that's why it was spread out through your body?
Well, when I ultimately went through 3 doctors that only wanted to prepare me for death, and then finally was referred to Mayo Clinic surgeon, Dr. Nabal Wasif, he's the one that looked at everything and determined that probably it was a case where, yeah, my appendix had probably started growing these cancerous cell clusters, and they, eventually the appendix ruptured, burst. So all of those cells just spread throughout my abdomen and attached themselves on the outsides of the organs.
You didn't go to the hospital for an appendectomy at any point, right?
Right. I didn't.
So how do you have that happen? How do your appendix burst?
That was one of those times. That was one of those times where, and I remember a couple of times where I was in so much pain, and I thought that it was just something that I ate. I just wasn't a doctor type of a guy, and
it must have. I mean, I've known people that have had appendix burst. It's extremely painful.
And as we're talking, I'm actually thinking of when that night that it probably happened. I was in so much pain, and I probably should have gone to the emergency room. That's how bad it was. But I've always had a high tolerance for pain. And again, it was just one of those things where I thought it was food poisoning, and just in pain, and I'll be okay tomorrow type thing.
Now, where do you think that came for you, that you never wanted to go to the doctor?
Again, I just felt like I was healthy. There was, nothing wrong with me other than
because you were eating right.
Yeah, I was doing all the right things. Right. Anybody that I've ever talked to, even my kids, it's like they couldn't believe that I got cancer. Because of all the things that I instilled in them as far as health and exercise and nutrition and all those things.
But they didn't know you back in the.
They didn't know me back. No, they didn't know me back then, and of course, and even a few years into first having children, drinking alcohol to try to deal with being a parent, No, but seriously, yeah. So they didn't know anything about that lifestyle. As they got older, I kind of gave them bits and pieces, but not everything.
Well, it makes you think that Chinese saying, the years tell you what the days cannot. So, but who knows?
Right.
Was it related to that lifestyle? Who knows, right?
Yeah, who knows? It's just accumulation of everything.
Right.
Stress, job-related stress, guilt. All those things just add up.
So when you found out you had cancer, were you at home? Did they call you, or did they ask you to come into the office?
I was at home after the laparoscopic surgery with the cameras and the biopsy. They called me with the results.
Did they say, Robert, you should maybe sit down?
I can't remember the exact words, but it was like right after July 4th, and so they were like, the normal conversation. Hey, what'd you do on the 4th? Did you have a good time? Did you enjoy yourself? What'd you guys do? Did you barbecue? All that type of thing. Yeah. So what's the results?
Right.
Forget all that. What's going on?
Small talk's nice, but this is kind of,
talk to me. And so they said, okay, we got your results. And they came back positive that it's malignant. they scheduled me to, see an oncologist. And like, okay, oncologist, what's that?
Yeah.
I didn't know,
Yeah.
And so, I just kind of went from there.
When someone tells you you have cancer, what's the first thoughts that go through your mind?
The very first thought, of course, is why me? How? How could this happen to me? Then of course you start thinking, my God, if I die, my wife, my daughters, my family, my friends, I'm not ready to go. I don't want to die. And so in that very moment, I decided I'm not going to die. I don't care what it takes. I'm not going to die. And those were within the first 30 seconds, those were my thoughts. No, literally. I just, from the time I found out, I just refused to believe that I would die.
It was just made up there.
Yeah, just made up my mind. Yeah.
So you went to the oncologist, and
Mm-hmm.
What were they going to do initially? Did they realize the severity of it?
Yeah, it was very severe and aggressive and moving very, very quickly. And the oncologist that I went to, even he had a fear in his eyes. He didn't make me feel comfortable at all. He didn't really know exactly how to talk to me, how to explain things to me in a way to make me feel better about or create a positive feeling about or outlook on my situation. After meeting with him 2 different times, and he just wasn't giving me anything to go on to give me any hope. I said,
was that grim? They said basically you're probably not going to survive.
Yeah, he was the first of the 3 doctors that all they really wanted to do was kind of help prepare me and my wife and my family for death. They wanted to set up counseling sessions and get all my paperwork in order, and that's what their focus was, right. Because it was that severe, and they didn't feel like there was anything that could be done at this point. It was too far gone already. But my wife and I, we prayed, meditated, and agreed that no, this is not the end. And we never believed it. And so we went to another oncologist and then to another surgeon. We were hoping would be able to open me up and get it out, whatever it is.
So you had to find someone that was willing to proceed with the treatment.
Yes. And then finally, the doctor that actually performed the laparoscopic surgery with the cameras, he called to find out what was going on. And I told him the frustration of what was going on. I met with 3 different doctors and they don't feel like they can do anything. And he actually gave me a referral to the surgeon at Mayo Clinic. I went set up an appointment, a consultation with him, and he reviewed everything and said he thinks that he can help me.
What do you think did he ever tell you why he thought he could heal you or help you get healed?
Come to find out, Dr. Wasif is he's in the top 3 in the world at these risky, rare types of cancer surgeries. He travels the world lecturing on new techniques of dealing with these types of surgeries.
Like the extreme cases.
The extreme rare cases, yes. He felt like he was capable and knowledgeable of how to not only remove it, but to stop it from coming back. When I agreed to move forward with the surgery, he did explain, the complications that could happen and come about, and the organs that will probably have to be removed. My colon, my spleen, my gallbladder, part of my rectum, the actual organ, the rectum organ, my what's it called? The omentum, I think it's called. It's like a layer of fatty tissue between your skin and your abdomen, as a protection. That all had to be removed. So he told me about all these things and how hard the recovery would be and how long it might take. And it actually took longer than he thought it would. But again, he said if I wasn't as healthy and as strong as I was, I would have never made it through that. It was a 12.5-hour surgery. And it was 5 major surgeries all in one. You know, with the, removing of, the organs, and they're all counted as separate big surgeries.
And he did that just 12 hours straight.
12.5 hours straight. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean, he had a team of people, of course,
sure,
but he's the one that actually performed the surgeries.
I don't think I could do anything for 12 hours.
No, yeah, that's and I was asleep, so I don't know if he took a break or not. Maybe they did. Maybe they said, okay, let's give him 30 minutes
lunch.
Let's give some more anesthesia. Make sure he doesn't wake up and come back. I don't know how that worked, but from start to finish, it was 12.5-hour total procedure time. Crazy.
So after the 12.5 hours, you wake up. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're in a lot of pain. What did he say to you then, the doctor?
When I first woke up, it was just like a team of nurses every 10, 15 minutes coming in, checking blood, checking urine, checking this, doing that. I was hooked up to so many things. I had this bag hanging off my stomach, that I found out later. Oh, that's called an ileostomy. Oh, okay. Which I thought was going to be temporary, but we've decided it's going to be permanent. IVs in both arms. I had a PICC line in my neck. I had a hose going through my nose, down through my throat, into my stomach. There was just so, I had an oxygen tubes connected to my nose. It was just so much to wake up to.
Did you think for a second, like, where am I?
I knew where I was. I just looked at how severe things really were at that moment. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is bad. This is not good. This is going to take a while.
Yeah.
My first words, and my wife laughs about it because she was right there, and my brother-in-law, my brother, my mother, everybody was there. My first words were, if I may, this is fucked up. That was my first words.
Yeah.
Waking up to everything and realizing just how severe it is.
Wow. Now, what were your thoughts going into the surgery? You said you decided that you're going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to heal.
Yeah.
Was that, obviously you're concerned about any type of surgery, but is that the thoughts you still had going in?
Oh, yeah. I was raring to go. I was like, can we do this now?
Let's get this out of me.
Yeah, let's get it done. I mean, I checked in at the hospital, at, I think it's 5:30 in the morning. Procedure was scheduled for 7:30. And I'm like, I was antsy, like, let's get this done. Call my name already. Let's go.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, let's get it done. Even then, I'm still looking. I had done that. I forget what it's called. You have to drink this thing that flushes everything out of your system.
Right.
And so I had done that, and I'm still looking at this stomach sitting out,
just distended.
Yeah, just
fluid, right?
Yeah. Because they had actually removed the fluid 2 times prior to the surgery, but it kept coming back. It kept rebuilding itself, replenishing, and so. Yeah, so I was just ready. Like, let's do this. Let's go. That was my mindset. Let's get this done.
So you wake up, you realize that you're in quite a situation.
Yeah.
Did your thoughts remain positive, or were you kind of like, oh, I might not get out of this?
That first week, yeah, I was pretty positive because by the 3rd day, I was refusing pain medication. I was,
wow.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't need it anymore.
Wow.
I mean, and we're talking about an incision from, what's this called, your sternum, all the way down into my pelvic area.
They completely opened you up.
Completely. And the nurses and the doctors, they were like, are you sure you're not in pain? I'm like, no, I'm good. They're like,
now, were you, or are you just being tough?
No, I literally, okay, here's the thing. I had been enduring pain for so long that what I was feeling at that moment was nothing, believe it or not. And I remember my surgeon telling me, you have a very high tolerance for pain because you've been in pain in a long time.
Yeah.
You were he said you were obviously in more pain than you ever let anyone know.
Do you think it's related to your military upbringing, being in a military family?
Oh, the tolerance for pain,
or just being tough.
Well, being tough, yes, because being brought up the way we were as men, as boys, yeah, we weren't allowed to cry and didn't, weren't allowed to show emotion, things of that nature. I didn't even. It's funny because my wife actually had somewhat of a problem with me because I showed no emotion in the early stages of our relationship until we started having children, girls, and I discovered emotion. And yeah, so now I'll cry if I see a bird, with a broken wing or something. No, but seriously, yeah, I discovered emotions and I'm glad that I was able to finally release that. But going back to the surgery, just being strong like that, yeah, I'm sure that had something to do with it. But that's just my nature. If it's not broken, then get up, run it off, and run around, walk it off, and keep moving.
Walk it off.
Yeah, walk it off. Is it broken? No, well, get up.
Yeah, walk it off. I remember my high school football coach.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the difference between pain and injury, which is good.
You're right.
But if you had that mentality, perhaps you would have went to the doctor a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Right.
A long time ago. And it's something because just the other day, my wife asked me, why didn't you? How could you not know something was wrong? And why didn't you go to the doctor sooner? And I told her, I said, the thing about it was I was coming off of a second real estate market crash as a realtor and trying to rebound working full time at a resort again. Things were going so well financially and our relationship, and I was paying all the bills and everything like that. And I didn't want to screw that up. I didn't want to stop doing that. I didn't want to know what was wrong with me. I just wanted to keep working and keep doing the so-called right things.
So it was denial.
Yeah. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't want to know.
Right. It's almost like a cognitive dissonance within yourself, about yourself.
Yeah. I didn't want to know. I knew, but I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know the details. I didn't want any interference with the way my life was going at that moment.
If I don't pay attention to it, it'll go away.
Yeah, eventually, it's just pain.
Yeah. Right. You got out of the surgery. You were in the hospital how long?
I was in the hospital for a total of 33 days.
Wow. But you had
33 days.
You had complications, correct?
After the first big surgery, 7 days later, I was in more pain than I had ever been in my life. And this time I cried out for help. It was that bad. Come to find out, there was because of all the scraping, removing the clusters from the outside of my stomach and other organs, my stomach had started leaking. So,
the gastral juice?
Yes. Yeah.
Stuff that digests your food.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
so that was
it was leaking into my system, my abdomen, and very, very painful stuff. So, lo and behold, 7 days after the big surgery, they had to open me up again and go in and repair the stomach lining and patch holes. So that was surgery number 2. Then, 7 days later, the pain came back, that same severe pain. And lo and behold, yeah, you have infection now that has set in. So guess what? We have to open you up a third time in 14 days.
Which is highly unusual.
Very highly unusual. But again, I was strong. They felt I could handle it.
Now, what was your attitude then? Were you like, I'm going to beat this? Or you're like,
okay,
I can't believe this is happening?
After the first surgery, I was good. Yeah, like 3 days later, no pain medication. I'm up walking around. After the second surgery, I'm like, uh-oh. Yeah, okay, this is a little harder this time. And then the third surgery, I started having those thoughts of, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
You were in a bad state.
I was okay if I didn't make it at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're willing
Seriously.
to throw in the towel.
I was okay. I wasn't ready to throw in the towel, but if the towel got thrown in for me,
yeah,
I was okay with that.
Right. So how do they treat the infection?
They had to go in and open me up and go in and do what they call a washout, I think they call it.
Wow.
And just washed everything out and then treated it, with whatever antibiotics and whatever else that they had to use. And see, the thing about it is that after that surgery, I woke up after that third one, and not only did I have all those other tubes and IVs and everything still attached, and a catheter and all these things. Now I had these 3 tubes coming out of my abdomen that had these little pump things on them, and then so I had these 3 drainage tubes coming out of my stomach now for fluid buildup, so it would just drain out instead of building up. So I had these 3 tubes with a bulb on the end of it, sucking juice out of me now.
You're part man, part machine.
I'm like, I'm looking at myself, and I'm steady losing weight. Surgery day, I was 185. By the day 33, I was discharged. I weighed 149 pounds.
Wow.
6'4".
Yeah.
So I was literally had lost all fat and all muscle.
Your body was just completely decimated.
Just decimated. That's the perfect word.
It
was gone.
Kind of the Walking Dead.
Yeah. I literally had to retrain myself to do physical things like walking and bending and picking up things. And I literally couldn't pick up 2 pounds, 5 pounds. That was too much.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were explaining to me in the past, I think you said it was what really knocks you out is the anesthetics.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about that at the time, but 3 big doses of anesthesia in a row like that. Being under for 12 hours of anesthesia is enough to where it would compound the effects of or the complexity of the recovery time. But to have 3 surgeries on top of that, plus another big thing that happened was instead of them scheduling multiple chemotherapy sessions after the fact, they used a form of chemotherapy called HIPEC. It's hyper something, intra something, I don't know. But it's they call it HIPEC. And then what it virtually is it's a flushing of hot liquid that they fill your abdomen with one big, huge dose of chemotherapy all at once.
Why would they do that?
Because that's the most effective way to treat that rare form
I see.
Of cancer.
Even though you were in the condition you were in,
yes,
that was still your best.
It was still the best
chance of recovery.
Yes.
So with all that, what were your thoughts? When you thought, I'm going to beat this, you said, I'm kind of done.
Well, like I said, I was still, of course, willing to beat this and do what I had to do. But for the first time in my life, I was okay with death. I had no fear of death anymore. And I would have been okay with it. I would have been at peace with it if I didn't make it through.
So did you have no fear at all?
At all.
About anything?
No, and not at all.
What's that feel like?
That's a hard feeling to describe. I mean, it's actually very liberating to not fear death, to know that you're going to go one day anyway. So whether it's today or 10 years from now, so be it.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
Right.
Nothing you can do about it. Right. You know, again, the only thing that what kept me wanting to live was, I actually, as I told you before, I received messages from time to time that are put on my spirit, on my heart. And the message that I received while I was in the hospital contemplating life or death was, you have to live. And I was given 3 reasons that I had to live. Number 1, because your wife and your children, your daughters, they need you in their lives. Number 2, your yet to be born grandchildren deserve to know you. And number 3, your testimony is going to help and make an impact in so many lives. And so I had to keep fighting.
Thank you again for listening. And please leave any comments or suggestions. We're always looking for ways to improve our show and make it the best show it can possibly be. Visit mindfulaccord.com, where you can find additional episodes and you can follow our blog. We give some helpful information on mindfulness, meditation, and just ways to manage our everyday stressful lives. And most importantly, if you know of a friend or a family member that would benefit from this story, please share it with them. Until next time, I'm Rich Decker.